Today's reading is from our new book of the month, Soul Currency, by Ernest Chu. And this reading is actually at the back of the book, and it is a prayer with which he closes the book. I am the source of eternal flow. Knowing that there is one eternal source of all love and divine supply, I know that my life is that one life, and that all supply and abundance are now mine. As I fully open to receive, I am open to the creative energies of love flowing as fulfillment, and to creativity manifesting as successful projects and grand prosperity. No longer do I allow doubt and unworthiness to be a part of me, for I now know the truth, that I am spirit manifest, and that I am capable of co-creating and directing a life full of love, flowing with joyfulness and surplus. I am abundantly self-sufficient in all my needs, and I live from the higher truth of being, in the work and in the service that are mine to do, and in loving interactions with every life I touch. Giving thanks, for it is gratitude that connects us to and reminds us of our God nature. And knowing that my words have power and are already working in my life, I release this prayer into the universal presence. And so it is. Amen. That's what I'm talking about right here. I'm going to read through our affirmation one time, and then I'll invite you to join me. I am at one with the source of eternal flow, and my life is rich and fulfilling. Calling forth a full and satisfied consciousness, I live my life on purpose, confidently placing my demand upon the universe and surrendering to its fulfillment. I allow the divine current to flow through me as loving relationships, perfect health, meaningful activity, and complete financial freedom. Stand up, and please join me with conviction in these words of truth. I am at one with the source of eternal flow, and my life is rich and fulfilling. Calling forth a full and satisfied consciousness, I live my life on purpose, confidently placing my demand upon the universe and surrendering to its fulfillment. I allow the divine current to flow through me as loving relationships, perfect health, meaningful activity, and complete financial freedom. And so it is. Thank you, Dennis. It's a beautiful song. There's an interesting thing about what Dennis just shared with us. We are seeds. And seeds, when well tended, do what? They grow. And when they're not well tended, what do? It's interesting, a lot of times they just wait. They just wait until they're well tended. And then they... Now, isn't that a beautiful idea? Seeds don't really die, they just wait. And the universal presence is waiting for us to show up as willing, available, prepared, receptive, so that we may become part of that divine channel and become a center of generativity of more life. Are you ready to show up as a center of generativity and life? Hallelujah, you're in the right place. We are here this month today to introduce a new theme. Our new theme is soul currency. And as you probably figured out by now, I borrowed the name of the theme from the name of the book. And I chose that theme for a few reasons that will become apparent to you over the next few minutes. Part of what we are doing this month as a spiritual community is looking at stewardship. What does stewardship mean? If you look it up in the dictionary, which I did, you find that to be a steward is to care for something. Isn't that lovely? To steward something is to care for it. And so let me ask you this question. How well do you care for the things that you most value in your life? What kind of a steward are you of the things that you say anyway that you most value in your life? It's an interesting thing, isn't it? Maybe it could possibly be that we say we value something, but the way we steward it, the way we care for it, might tell us more about how much importance we actually place on it. So a steward is one who cares for something, and the invitation I'm going to extend to all of you over the 4 Sundays of this month is that you become a conscious and intentional steward of this spiritual community. And there are a number of elements involved in that, and we're going to look at different elements each week. We want you to say, yes, this community is the source of my spiritual good, and I am willing to care for it in a meaningful way and in a way that is intentional and clear. So why are we here? In order for you to really care for something, you got to kind of have a good sense of its purpose, right? Why are we here? Why do we come together as a spiritual community? Well, guess what? We have a vision, we have a mission, and we have a vision, right? What's our mission? Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you. Our mission is to awaken people to their spiritual nature. Say that with me. We awaken people to their spiritual nature. Right? And are you a people? So that means we awaken you to your spiritual nature. That means we are here to wake up to a greater idea, to an awareness of that from which we came, that to which we will return, that which beats our hearts, that which is the center of life generativity at the core of us. We are here to wake up to that. And this spiritual center exists to support you in that process. How cool is that? What's our vision statement? We are a vibrant and thriving spiritual community of love. Say that with me. We are a vibrant and thriving spiritual community of love. So, our mission is why we exist. Our vision is like, who do we want to be? How do we see ourselves? We see ourselves as a vibrant and thriving spiritual community of love. Yeah? And you know what I love about that vision statement? It's open at the top completely. A vibrant and thriving spiritual community of love is a vision that can never be achieved. Like, when would you know that we had enough vibrancy? When would you know that we were thriving enough? Do you see? And so it's a vision that can ever expand. So our purpose, our reason that we exist is to awaken people, ourselves and others, to their spiritual nature. And our vision is that we are a vibrant and thriving spiritual community of love. And we have 5 practices that we are embodying to support our mission and bring our vision to life. And I'm going to share those with you right now. Our first practice is we love God through celebration and worship. And that's what we're doing right here today, right? And other kind of special events that we do that are about celebration and worship. That is our first practice. Our second practice is we love others through sacred service. And we're talking about sacred service here in our community. How many of you have volunteered or served in any way in our community in the last month, right? You are living into that spiritual practice of loving others through sacred service. We deepen in spirit through education and spiritual practice. Who has ever taken a class or is currently enrolled in a class? God bless you all. How is that? It's pretty amazing, isn't it? See, we are here to deepen in spirit through education and spiritual practice. How many of you pray or meditate? or do yoga, or whatever it is that for you, like, awakens the spirit within you. We are here to deepen in spirit through education and spiritual practice. Our fourth practice is we provide fellowship through connection and inspiration. Who's ever been in a small group? Who's ever come to Sisters in Spirit, Men's Breakfast, Women Connect? Those things are all of the ways that we provide fellowship by connecting one another and by inspiring one another to continue to walk along the spiritual path. And then finally, our fifth practice is we steward our center with ethical, spirit-centered conduct. We steward our center with ethical, spirit-centered conduct. That is, we care for our center in a way that is transparent, that is ethical, that is based in our teachings, that is congruent with what we teach. And we do that every single day. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm proud to be part of a spiritual community that owns those 5 practices. How about you? How about some love for that? And those 5 practices, see, this is the thing about practice. It's ongoing, right? We don't just steward our community with ethical, spirit-centered conduct today. We do that every day. We don't just deepen in spirit through education and spiritual practice today. We do that every day. These are ongoing practices that lift us into our mission of waking up and support our vision of being that vibrant and thriving spiritual community of love. I'm excited about it. I love us. I think we're terrific. And so these are our practices, our vision, and our mission. And this month we'll be looking at these things more deeply because we want to figure out what it means really to be a good steward of our community, right? So we got to know what these things are. Our guide that we're going to use is this book called Soul Currency, because this book is all about waking up to the truth of who we are and then circulating that. That is what soul currency is. And so let's take a look at what this book has to say about currency. Let's start with this word currency to start. What does that mean? Well, I looked it up. Shocking, I know. So a current is something that flows like a stream. And the Latin root of the word current, I love this. The Latin root means running, eager, swift. Like, I love eager, like eager is in there. It's swift. To me, eager gives a sense of enthusiasm and connection, yes? And so a current is something that's running, it's eager, it's swift. Think of an electrical current. When you flip on the switch, it's there, right? If everything's hooked up right, you flip on the switch, it's there. And the interesting thing about an electrical current is it's always been there. Isn't that something? You know, 1,000 years ago, there was no flip to switch, but that does not mean that the principles that allow for electricity did not exist. And that's a powerful thing to think about. What else don't we know about yet? That when we do know about it, we'll be able to flip a switch and it'll be just like that. What? That's kind of exciting to me too. So, currency. The third definition of currency, something used as a medium of exchange. Like money is currency, right? So let's see what our book has to say about this idea of medium of exchange. Ernest Chu says, imagine possessing a kind of currency that was easily exchanged for anything you could envision. Imagine this currency were unlimited. Imagine also that this currency could be exchanged not only for material things like money and real estate, but also for positive, intangible outcomes. What if this currency could fill your life with love, passion, and satisfaction? What if this currency would rise in value as you became more aware of it? What if this currency were in circulation around you all the time? I'd like some of that currency, would you? So what is soul currency? He says on page 3, when he's defining his terms, he says the term soul currency has 2 meanings. First, it's a medium for exchanging value. Like money, soul currency can be shared, traded, donated, and invested. But unlike money, it is not a symbolic object. Money is just a symbolic object, right? We've all agreed that $5 bill is worth $5. It's a symbol for $5. It's a symbol for value. He says, soul currency is not a symbolic object. It is a spiritual energy that resides in everyone. Each of us embodies this energy in our own unique form. Second, just as the word current refers to streaming movements of air, water, or electricity, soul currency describes the circulation of the God force in our lives. And now we come to the point. Is your divine flow a trickle or a gushing fountain? So soul currency is an energy. It's an energy. It's a divine energy that we all have access to. It's a divine energy that flows through us. But you know, just like if there's a hose up here and there's water running out, if I step on the hose, the water stops running out. Yes? Why did it stop? Because I'm stepping on the hose, not because the source dried up. And if I step off the hose runs again. See, and I don't know about you, but there have been times when I have not felt this flow of divine currency in my life. I have not felt this flow of divine energy of love and ease and grace, and I thought the source had dried up. But I was stepping on the hose, you guys. And as I anchored further and further in spiritual practice, in a growing awareness of the currency that is the divine energy, the energy of the infinite, that is, the universe is infinite. The mind from which we sprung is infinite. We cannot be separate from it, but we can step on the hose. And as I step off the hose, that is, release my old ideas of lack and limitation, love God through celebration and worship, love others through sacred service, deepen in spirit through education and spiritual practice, provide fellowship through connection and inspiration, and steward my life with ethical, God-centered conduct, I was stepping off the hose, right? And I began to live in the flow. More and more fully, this divine energy becomes the truth of my life. Now, the thing is just like when you go to the bank, well, actually, you don't go to the bank anymore, right? You used to go to the bank to make a withdrawal. If you want to withdraw cash from your account, there must be cash in the account, right? Now, I have to say that was kind of a hard lesson for me in my 20s. Oh, they bounce those things when there's not money in. Okay. So in the same way that when you go to the bank to withdraw, when you go to the Spirit to withdraw, the difference is God is infinite. And I would even say, reading Ernest Chu's definition of soul currency here, I would say that really the essence of soul currency is love. And we say that God is love. God is infinite love. And that's a well that does not dry up. That's a source that does not dry up. And I can go and I can make a withdrawal anytime I want. Isn't that lovely? Now, the fact is, once I've made that withdrawal, my life is going to be easier if I reinvest it. Do you hear me? There is an infinite source, an infinite well of love. If I reinvest by being loving, then I'm into the flow. See what I'm saying? If I'm always making a withdrawal, it's kind of like if I'm always breathing in and never breathing out, I'm going to fall over. And what's interesting is when I fall over, the natural process is going to take over. And I'm going to breathe in and out now. See, even my body knows the law of circulation. But somehow or other, I keep trying to go and always make a withdrawal from the infinite well of love. And God will support me in that, but I'm only going to show up in a certain way in the world. I don't show up as truly in that flow of soul currency until I am willing to send it out as well as make the withdrawal. The key to understanding this notion is to recognize and know that we are one. We are one. We are one with the infinite source. I am one with you. You are one with me. There is no separation. There is only one life. That life is God's life, and that life is my life now. And as I make the withdrawal from the universal presence, if I circulate that as love in the energy of my experience, I find myself in a co-creative, intentional relationship with other humans on the planet, and we create a great and mighty good together. Right? We are waking up. We are creating a vibrant, thriving, spiritual community of love. And so our heartfelt intentions activate this power of love, activate the flow of soul currency, and yet what is required is that we have at least a modicum of spiritual intelligence. What you say is spiritual intelligence. Spiritual, you know how we talk about emotional intelligence and awareness of how our emotions work, right? Spiritual intelligence is just an awareness that there is something greater than we are, that it operates via spiritual laws, and we can learn those laws and apply those laws to our lives and have a different experience of life. So spiritual intelligence is just an awareness that there's a greater organizing universal presence. And we can align with that greater organizing universal presence. And then we be about the 5 practices to bring that into effect in our experience of life. The cool thing about spiritual intelligence is it drives our investment of our time, our money, our intentions, our awareness, our energy. The greater spiritual intelligence we have, the more intelligently we invest our time, our energy, our love, and create a circulation, a co-creative energy that creates a world that works for everybody. Now, I don't know about you, but the world kind of isn't looking like it works for everybody right now. It's an appearance. And we don't deny the appearance. We don't deny the emotions that come up around the experience, but we also don't let the experience dictate who we are and what the possibility is. As we plant the seeds of love consciously and with clarity, I'm telling you guys, love always wins. Love always wins. And it's in this time we're in, it's interesting to me, this is kind of an aside, but I just got to say this. Have you heard the term chemicalization? Right? Emma Curtis Hopkins coined that term way back 125 years ago. Chemicalization is what happens when we begin the spiritual healing journey and then our lives fall apart. Healing brings up everything unlike healing, but it's for the purpose of greater healing. In other words, you can't be clean and clear until you've worked out all the stuff. And so chemicalization is when all the stuff comes up for the purpose of healing. And it's interesting to me because I kind of think in our nation right now we are chemicalizing. Because we have been on a healing journey for, several hundred years now. We've been on a healing journey, and we're oh so close. And we're chemicalizing like crazy. All kind of stuff that looks not like healing is coming up, but it's coming up for the purpose of greater healing. And so I exhort you to be the presence of love in all of this chemicalization, because that's the only thing that's going to heal. Now we're getting back on the topic. So we develop our spiritual intelligence in spiritual community, don't we? Now, you can develop spiritual intelligence, you can go meditate in a cave somewhere and you'll develop a certain degree of spiritual intelligence. But the fact is, one of the things that develops spiritual and emotional and even mind intelligence in us is having to deal with people. I hate to say that. Because not everybody thinks or practices like we do, right? And so I can go off and meditate in a cave and I'm going to reach a certain degree of enlightenment, but it's inward focused, right? We exist in a world. We exist in a greater community. We exist in a place where, we're like stones rubbing up against each other. And the more we rub up against each other, the more we soften our edges. Isn't that lovely? And it's not always easy because I really want you guys to think like I do. And I really want you guys to do what I think is the thing to do. Really. And you might be in that place sometimes yourself, although probably not because you have more spiritual intelligence than me. I'm joking. What I'm trying to say is we're all in that place sometimes, right? Where we're just rubbing up against the world and it's hard and I don't want to be here and I don't want to have to think about you and I want to just do things my way and I would be a spiritual being. I'm going to go in a cave and meditate. Sometimes that feels like it would be a lot easier, right? But we need each other to really grow into our fullness. And so we plant seeds of love with clarity and intention. And when they grow up and they don't always look like love, we're like, oh, all right, just need more love. We've got to water that baby with a little more love, a little more clarity, a little more intention. And I promise you, in the end, all will be well. So we use our spiritual investment by investing our time, our energy, our money in the place that grows us. And my hope is, the deepest desire of my heart is that is right here in our spiritual community. And that as we bring intentionality to stewarding and caring for our spiritual community, we are indeed able to live into that vision of a vibrant and thriving spiritual community of love. Now, each week during this series, we're going to take a little bit of a deeper look at each one of our practices by sharing a little bit, by an individual sharing a little bit about how what that practice has meant to them. And so I want to invite Jamie Sassy up because she's going to come up and share with us just a little bit about how our first practice, loving God through celebration and worship, has impacted her life, which I think is in kind of a meaningful way. So I don't know which microphone you're using. So Jamie's got a couple minutes here to share with you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jamie Sassy. I'm talking about celebration and worship. And I've been up here singing for you guys for a while now. It's been a big growth opportunity for me. And I feel very happy to have had the opportunity to do that for you and for myself. I think I'd like to just take you back a little bit to where I started. Maybe not all the way back to the beginning, but a little bit further back. A couple years ago, I made a New Year's resolution. It was to further develop my self-compassion, my self-confidence, as well as cultivate a positive outlook on life. At that time, I felt like I didn't have any of those things. So I knew I had lots of growth opportunity there. My strategies that I set for myself were to go to church. So I started going to church, and I thought, if I go at least 75% of the time, I'm gonna get somewhere with that. I took the Gifts of Imperfection class with Marla. And one of the questions she asked at the beginning of the class was, what makes you excited to be here, but also what makes you not so excited to be here? Mm-hmm. And my answer to that second question was speaking to the group. I took the Sisters in Spirit, previously known as Divine Divas, got to know a lot of the ladies, got into fellowship with a lot of people here in service. I started my gratitude journal. I listened to my strength music playlist that I made up for myself.
Nice.
The music spoke to my soul. I listened to words of encouragement daily. And then another part of my strategy was to sing often. I started singing with my friends here at Unity. And the last part of that resolution was to be able to share this goal with somebody or someone's. And I'm so happy to have the opportunity to share it with all of you today. That year went by. That was 2017 resolution. And I had a lot of progress in that year. And I continued with that, but I realized that my scope was growing a lot further than I thought. I started thinking about, what are my gifts? Now, how can I share God's love to those around me in the community? And how can I get to the point to let God flow through me? And I continued with my original strategies, but I decided to take it a step further and ask for the opportunity to do congregational song leading for you. That was an immensely scary thought for me, but also exciting at the same time. So I stepped into it, and I have felt overjoyed with that opportunity. And every day that I'm singing with you guys now, and I see smiling faces, people really getting into the music, the energy just growing in this building, it feels like an immense gift to me. I feel like that is proof that I am living a purpose that God has for me. So thank you guys for sharing the music with me and the rest of our team. So thank you.
So here's my question. For those of you who've been around for a bit, have you noticed any growth in this person who just took a seat? See, I wanted Jamie to speak because she's a living example of waking up. I've watched her wake up. And the universe is infinite. There's infinite possibilities for us to wake up even further. And so in the coming weeks, what we are going to talk about is, did I go off? I feel like I went off. Oh, there we go. In the coming weeks, what we are going to talk about is how to develop and invest our spiritual assets, things like intuition and courage, qualities that we have. How do we develop and invest our spiritual assets for a payoff? We're going to talk about how to grow our spiritual capital, how to activate those assets through intention driven by love. And then we're going to talk about how to deal with the counterfeit currency. Those false beliefs that come up, that chemicalization that happens when we open our hearts to the conscious spiritual path. That, my friends, is counterfeit currency, and it has no value. And yet it does sometimes circulate, so we need to know what to do when that happens. So for right now, shall we imagine a little bit the manifestation of greater soul currency in our lives? I'm going to read again from page 10 in our book. And I invite you to breathe deeply and to close your eyes if you wish. And to allow the wisdom of these words to guide your imagining for a moment. Imagine possessing a kind of currency that is easily exchanged for anything you can envision. Imagine this currency is unlimited. Imagine that this currency can be exchanged for not only material things, but for intangible outcomes: love, passion, satisfaction. Imagine this currency rising in value as you open your heart and your mind to a greater awareness of the infinite mind and heart of God within you, above you, below you, all around you, as above, so below, as within, so without. An infinite source of endless energy, endless love, endless grace, infinite joy. And you feel and you recognize right now yourself surrounded by this soul currency. And breathing deeply into your heart, into the core and the center of your being, you recognize this currency deep within you. You recognize it is right where you are. You cannot be separate from the love, the energy, the presence. You cannot be separate from the spirit that God is in you. And the breath of the infinite is breathing you now. An endless cycle of reception and release in your physical body. And you recognize that this is a spiritual process, a spiritual awakening, a spiritual awareness. Love is breathing you now. Grace is breathing you now. Freedom is breathing you now. And you simply surrender to this awareness in the same way that you surrender to the next breath, knowing that that's something greater sustains and lifts and inspires you every moment of every day of your life. And so it's with a grateful heart that I close this message, knowing that we are made new, we are transformed, that something has been awakened in us that is deeper than we've ever known before, and we leave this place abundantly filled with new ideas, new strategies, new ways of being in the world. I do give thanks that God is good and all is well. And so it is. Amen.